in the outskirts of Brighton, where the coast breathes its cold salt into the night, there stood a narrow house painted gray. It wasn't derelict, but it always seemed empty, as though no laughter could survive within its walls. People passed it daily on their way to the train station and rarely looked twice. But at night, neighbors said they heard things. Voices low, coaxing, sometimes crying. Inside that house lived a man named Elliot Varn, a freelance sound engineer who worked from a home studio he called the Echo Room. He specialized in restoring corrupted audio files for police departments, documentarians, and sometimes private clients with secrets they wanted erased rather than restored. By day, Elliot's life looked unremarkable. Black coffee, dark hoodie, endless editing. By night, he trawled obscure chat rooms under pseudonyms, pretending to be someone else. He'd call it research. But even he couldn't tell where his curiosity ended and obsession began. And one night, that curiosity found a target. She called herself Nina Hale, a 17-year-old aspiring musician uploading acoustic covers online. She had a voice too pure for the internet's cruelty. Elliot followed her account obsessively, then found her live streams. Within weeks, he was offering to help mix her songs professionally. The house on the corner began to hum with a new kind of sound, her voice, sampled, layered, and stretched until it broke. Elliot first messaged Nina under the alias Cal Merton. He claimed to be a young indie producer based in Manchester. His tone was friendly, self-effacing, professional enough to disarm suspicion, casual enough to invite trust. Nina responded after 2 days, polite but hesitant. She sent a demo. It was raw, recorded in her bedroom. Elliot played it on loop for hours. The melody was fragile, her voice trembling at the edges, full of longing. He began tweaking her audio, sending her improved versions, subtly weaving in synthetic echoes of her own breath. "How do you make it sound so alive?" she asked in one chat. "It's all about preserving the imperfections," he replied. But Elliot wasn't preserving anything. He was dissecting it, every tremor, every pause. Each note became a thread in his growing tapestry of possession. He began constructing something he privately titled The Perfect Voice, a project folder hidden behind encryption. Nina thought she was being mentored. Elliot thought she was being remade. Elliot's obsession deepened quickly. He began recording her live stream secretly, archiving every song and every word. When Nina mentioned she was working on a new melody, he already knew. He decoded fragments from her mic feed days earlier. One evening, she sang a lullaby her late mother used to hum. Elliot stopped working altogether. The lullaby became his anchor, looping endlessly in his speakers. That night, he built a composite track, Nina's voice, harmonized with synthesized versions of itself. He called it the Echo Room theme. But then something changed. Nina began missing their scheduled calls. Her replies grew shorter. Her father had grown suspicious. She had mentioned Cal in passing. Elliot panicked, sending frantic apologies, pretending he'd only wanted to help. Then she wrote, "You're making me uncomfortable. Please stop messaging me." He sat frozen for hours. Then he deleted Cal Merton and switched to a new identity, the archivist. And he started sending her anonymous audio clips of her own voice, distorted beyond recognition. Weeks passed. Nina's channel went quiet. Her followers speculated she was focusing on exams. Only Elliot knew the truth. She had deleted everything. But he wasn't ready to let go. He began creating an AI voice clone from her recordings, using pirated synthesis tools, whispering to himself as he trained it. It wasn't perfect at first, glitching mid-syllable. Still, he spent every night refining it. When the clone finally spoke, "Hello, Cal," he wept. To him, Nina had returned. To anyone else, it was a digital ghost. Meanwhile, detectives were tracking the source of harassment complaints filed under her father's name. The IPs led nowhere, masked through layers of proxy servers. But the data trails pointed toward Brighton. Elliot's neighbors started noticing flickering lights and strange mechanical noises from his basement at 3 a.m. And then came the scream, thin, metallic, recorded, but real enough to make someone call the police. When police arrived at the Echo Room, they found no one home. Only layers of sound. Recordings played automatically, fragments of Nina's voice, distorted into shrieks. They took the computer tower as evidence. but most of the drives were encrypted. It would take months before they cracked the files open. By then, Elliot had vanished. He resurfaced 2 months later in a small Welsh village under a new alias. Locals described him as quiet but polite. He'd rented a barn, claiming to record ambient nature sounds. Every morning, he carried a portable recorder into the woods. But he wasn't capturing birdsong. He was feeding old fragments of Nina's voice into the open air, whispering conversations to no one, recording their echoes. The woods became his new studio, and he started sending tapes again. This time not to Nina, to her father. Months later, one of the envelopes arrived at a police forensics lab. Inside, a tape labeled Nina_Infinity. On playback, it began with silence. Then came a faint heartbeat sound, followed by a breath. A voice whispered, "I'm still here." Forensic analysis confirmed it wasn't a human recording. It was an AI synthesis blending the original files. But embedded within was a faint background noise, birds, wind, and a distant church bell. Investigators matched the soundscape to a village near Conwy. The hunt reignited. When they finally found the barn, Elliot was inside, unconscious, headphones still on, surrounded by analog reels spinning in slow mechanical rhythm. The audio continued looping around him. Nina's voice, layered hundreds of times, speaking his name. He survived, but barely. And when he woke in custody, he whispered, "She came back to me." In court, Elliot said little. Forensic experts detailed his process: voice cloning, harassment, identity fabrication, unauthorized surveillance. The press labeled him the Echo Engineer. Nina never appeared. Her family had relocated abroad under a new name. The court ordered Elliot's lifetime digital restriction and mandatory psychiatric treatment. But even in confinement, he was allowed limited audio therapy sessions. The staff found him recording the hum of the ventilation system, layering it over his own breath. He claimed the machine was teaching him how to listen again. Late one night, a guard reported hearing a woman's voice in the therapy wing, humming softly. No recording ever captured it. But every speaker on that floor began emitting faint static at 3:17 a.m., the exact timestamp of Nina's last live stream years earlier. The technicians shut down the system. The noise didn't stop. Years later, the Echo Room was sold, renovated, and turned into a podcast studio. But tenants say that sometimes, when they record late at night, they catch a faint secondary voice on their tracks. It never says much, just one word, whispered under the mix. Cal. And somewhere, in a forgotten folder on an archive drive, a file continues to play in a loop. A girl's voice. A man's silence, an echo that refuses to fade.